Hi, this is Beth from Around the Table Yarns. Today is the first night for the Proudfoot Sock, which we are happily being hosted, or we're being visited by the designer, Rue Meeks-Johnson. There's the actual Proudfoot sock right there. I have mine. And Rue is going to be taking us through the beginning of the sock. And if we have any issues, I have a document camera here and needles and yarn. So take it away.
Oh my goodness. I didn't. Wow, on the spot. Okay, well,
I can jump in.
Where should I start?
Well, I can start if you, and then you can jump in. I can start a little bit because I taught the class this morning. And
okay.
So I've got a little bit of background. So I'm going to make me the spotlight just for a second.
Sure.
And move spotlight. Hello, all the people. Hi. So first of all, we did kits for this, but you don't have to use one of our kits. So this is one of the kits. It's all jumbled up in here. And this was the bright rainbow kit that we developed. And then I made my sock with the saturated kit, which was also available on our website. It takes, for each sock, it's about 50 grams of yarn total if you make it this long. I mean, this one weighs about 51 grams. So it's half of a regular skein of yarn. You don't have to do the striping, but you should do the striping. It's kind of the point.
It's really fun.
It's really
it keeps
fun.
You going. It keeps you rolling along.
It does. It makes it go faster. Also, the heel can be done with a pride flag of any variety, and there's information about that in the pattern. I did mine with colors from the toe because I don't have a pride flag because I'm hetero and they don't have a, we don't have a flag.
I did. So this one is based on the Progress Pride flag. So, and it's a 5-color flag, but there are actually 6 colors in the heel. There are 2 different whites. So you could do this with a 3-color flag and do 2 and 2 and 2, you know, or you could do with a 4 or a 5 or a 6-color flag. You just, the math is a little tricky, but it works.
There's room for both. So the first thing that we discussed, because I just finished doing mine, and I had a little bit of advice. If you're not doing the colors as written in the pattern, my advice is that you do this, that you come up with your palette. So that's our bright palette there.
Yes.
And hold on, I'm going to hold white up behind it. So there's the bright palette, and there's our saturated palette. And I would put your yarns in the order that you want to work them, and have them available to you. The pattern, so we don't usually show the pattern on the Zoom because they won't have, not everybody bought it. So I'm going to just say on page 2 of the pattern is the list of the colors.
Yeah, there's a place for you to write in your own colors, because I wrote it for stash yarn, and because I know people are going to want to do their own version so they can write in their own. And I think the color card is a great idea.
And so I would number the yarns on your color card, have them correspond to the ones that are numbered on Rue's pattern, and then make sure that you write that in on the different parts of the pattern, the different rows of the pattern that you're doing. Today we're going to focus on the toe,
so which is also to say, print your pattern.
Oh yeah, they got a pattern if they bought it from us. We gave them a pattern.
It's just crazy to try to follow from a screen that goes dark.
Okay.
Right. Which I want to ask, is the bright color kit the same Sweet Georgia Tough
Tough Love
sock?
Sock.
And did your sock come out a little bit bigger than you expected it to?
It came out longer. So I had questions about the heel. It fits me, but it's about half an inch too long. So it's going to my husband.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that I started knitting with that satin desaturated kit that you sent me, and it's gorgeous, and I absolutely love it. I think that that yarn is a little heavier than the yarns that I used. So, so when people are thinking about sizing, they're gonna want to adjust the needle size that I would use for this yarn is just one size up, and that I would use for what I call a spring or a summer weight yarn. You know, those quite elastic 4-plies that all the indie dyers carry that are 75-25. Those are like nice and thin, and I can do those on a 0. But this Georgia Tough Sock is much thicker.
Okay.
So you wanna adjust your needle size accordingly. And
So,
then it's gonna give you a sock that's just a little bit bigger.
and it does feel, this feels more almost like a slipper.
Yeah.
It is a really dense, I had it at the store this morning and people were feeling it. It is still pliable and supple and nice, but it is a very warm sock. So this is definitely like a boot sock. This is definitely a winter shoe sock.
It is in that yarn. It's quite a boot sock. And that's one of the things I like about it is that it's so durable that you can wear it in a boot and it won't slip down. It really snaps onto the heel.
When I did mine, I found the pattern because you have size information that corresponds to the different colors in your stripe. And you said like omit this one.
Right.
And what I ended up doing is I just knitted my sequence as it was.
Yeah.
And I just kept going with my sequence. So I did not omit any of my colors. I just made it work. So do keep that in mind when you're working this, that you're just going to keep going with your colorway. The heel shaping is gorgeous. It happens. So this is a toe up sock. So as you're coming up, and I told her that I did my heel wrong.
It's okay. It's
as
beautiful.
You're coming up, you start to split and add stitches in between for the heel. And you can see I did mine sort of.
It's called the heel expansion.
It's the heel expansion. And it's, I had a reason I was saying that. Oh, just it happens in a different place for different sizes. And I just kept going with my colors.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
That's why the sock is long.
And that's why the sock is long. So, well, I tried to, so you're going to talk about the heel expansion. I think we're going to talk about that our second class. So today we're really talking about the things that happen at the beginning, because there's about 13 rounds of trickiness.
Tricksiness.
But you don't have to do the mattress stitch at the end or a Kitchener at the end.
Right. That's the thing. So you do need to know Judy's magic cast on. Does everybody know? Should we show it?
We can't. And if you have any trouble showing it, I can show it and you can talk about it while I'm showing it if you want to.
Well, let's see. Let's find out.
So we usually do record how we do the cast on.
Sure.
And then people are able to go back, because this is being recorded, they can go back and see it on the website later. I will take the spotlight off of me so yours can be bigger.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let you tell me when you have the view that I think you want.
You're up.
We're just gonna move the camera around a little bit. Get away from me. Don't do that. Okay, so if you are a tight knitter, the first little trick is that you can put, with an interchangeable set, you can put a smaller needle tip on the needle that's closer to your body during cast on, and that will be your receding needle. Okay, so here's my loops, and I'm over there, and I'm just 1 and 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10. And then I pull the short one through to the front. Turn the needles this direction. So now the smaller size needle is here. So I would have a 0 here and a small 1 here. And pull that out.
When you say here, you mean closest to your body or further from your body?
The one that's the working needle
Is closest
in my
to your
right
body.
hand. It would be the larger size. If I'm a tight knitter, I put a smaller size on the one that's in my left hand now.
Okay.
It was closer to my body when I did the cast on.
Okay.
So now it's in my left hand, and I'm just gonna knit 1 full round to establish the stitches on the needle. And that's because we're gonna do lifted increases. And we need to do a round to give us a stitch below.
I'm gonna
increase.
set up my camera in case we need to do a close-up.
Okay. Am I having a hard time staying in the shot?
You're staying in the shot, but it's upside down.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Which
And of course my camera will automatically correct it if I tip the camera around.
Exactly. So I'm gonna just turn on my, I'm gonna get set up while she's talking, and we'll
Sure. So I do try to maintain a really tight gauge on this first round because this is the only place in the sock that isn't fully 2 layers.
AG's office says corroborate not only Michael Cohen's testimony, but some of the stuff that Wasserberg stuff is admitted to doing. Was there any visible reaction from Donald Trump in this particular?
Oh my goodness!
Was claiming
news, huh?
there we go. I got it.
Okay, so on this second needle in this first round, you're going to notice that your stitches are mounted reverse cowgirl. So we do have to approach them a little differently. We're going to knit them through the back.
Rue, do you know the trick to keep that from happening?
I do not.
You know what? I'm gonna steal the spotlight from you for just a second.
Okay, but before you do that,
okay,
I'm going to tell everyone to notice that and how to deal with that reverse cowgirl mounted stitch. Because when we get to the heel and we start knitting backwards, we're going to have to deal with a lot of reverse mounted stitches.
Okay.
And that's why I don't
you don't
want sock knitters to avoid it.
Okay.
In the beginning, because I want them to maybe notice it might be their first time ever running into reverse mounted stitches.
So reverse mounted, I'm just gonna pull up my camera for just a second.
Sure.
So I'm adding my spotlight. When a stitch goes on the needle, it's a horseshoe. And when it's normally mounted on the needle, the right leg of the stitch is closest to you. and reverse mounted, and this happens in the usual way that Judy's Magic Cast On is done, that means that the left leg of the stitch is closest to you. And so to adjust for that, you still want to knit the right leg of the stitch, even if it's behind the needle instead of in front of the needle. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. So what Rue is showing you is to knit that right leg regardless of whether it's ahead of the needle or behind it. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so I'm ready to do the first row of increases, which is the bit that's just a little bit unusual, and all we're going to do is count to 3. We're just going to go knit 1, 2, make 1 left, knit 1, 2, make 1 left. That's all there is to it. Now, when I make 1 left, I do call it the wrong thing. It is a left lifted increase. My tech editor has tried and tried to drill it into me, and my brain keeps going back to make 1 left. So when I just knitted 2 stitches, and then I'm going to use the tip of my left needle to reach down into the stitch below the one I just knit, and I'll set the needle tip there, and then I'll reset the camera so you can see where I'm doing it. Okay. Did have a second camera and it works perfectly well, but it doesn't, the program that I use to connect the 2 cameras is not compatible with Zoom. And I did not know that until today. So
it's always fun to learn these things.
I did a tech run. I did a setup. I checked everything, and
I will pull up and show the left lifted increase if we don't have.
Okay, so right here, the tip of my left needle is going. Can you see it? Oh, hello, camera.
It's a little blurry.
Camera thing. When I have the 2 cameras, I set up the other one as a remote, and then I get to use the good camera on the phone. So, okay.
I'm gonna show it. Hang on. I'm just catching.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is not the colors from my sock. I was doing it with the colors from my sock, which are dark blue and dark purple for the toe. And we have a document camera at the shop that we show as we're doing it. And nobody could see what I was doing. So I borrowed the bright yellow from one of the participants, and it worked beautifully. So I'm using the bright yellow from my other kit. And so I'm on round 1.
Okay, good. So you're going to knit 2 and you're going to do a left lifted increase.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me put the spotlight back up. You're all being so patient. Thank you. Okay. So knit 2. I want to just say, make sure, especially because you'll have a little bit of a tail right there, make sure that the yarn you're using is connected to the working yarn and not connected to the ball and is not the tail.
Yeah.
A little pro tip. So knit 2.
It happens.
And then a left lifted increase. So there's lots of ways to make an increase. A left lifted increase is picking up the purl bump from the stitch below the one that you just knitted. So let me just get that closer up. Make sure that's focusing. Maybe this is too bright. So the one that we just knitted, different camera. The one that we just knitted is on the needle, and there's a stitch below it, and you actually want to go 1 below that to pick up the purl bump. And I put my needle into that stitch and then pull that bump out.
Yes. Pull it over to the left.
Pull it over to the left. So it looks like there's going to be two, when I go in there and knit it, it looks like there's two stitches. It almost looks like a heart. Oh, this is terrible.
And when I do it, it is reverse mounted.
Yes.
So I'm going to knit into the back leg.
I'm trying to get the focus on my camera there. Focus, come into focus. So knit two.
So it's just 1, 2, make a third.
Yeah. Oh, my camera's not focusing. Is it because the yarn is too bright? Oh, there. So I've knit two and I made one. I've knit two and I'm going to go in. So there's one on the needle, there's one below the one on the needle, and I go below that one and pull backwards to get that purl bump pulled out to the left. Knit two. Another way that you could do it is to turn it over and look for that purl bump. But either way, if you do it from that side, it's reverse mounted. The right leg of the stitch is underneath your needle. So you're still knitting the right leg. So I just go in there.
Second verse, same as the first.
Two. And so there is one on the outside of the last stitch.
Yes. And that actually really helps keep the toe from doing that odd little ears at the end of a kind of a square place.
Okay, so you've gone from whatever your first number was, you've added a third.
Right. If you started at 8, you've added 4, so you have 12. Every 2 has become 3. You started at 12, you have 18. You started at 10, you have 15.
I'm going to let you say that because you're the designer.
Okay.
And if I say it, I'm infringing on your copyright.
Gotcha. Right. See, the thing is,
so you're doing this pretty tightly.
I am. Because I haven't started any slipping yet, but we're going to, next row will be some slipping. And don't forget to increase into the very last stitch. I think that was a common one for test knitters, that they didn't have the wrong number of stitches and they couldn't figure out why. So now I like to do this thing where I take my fingernail and I poke it down into my little rectangle of knitting to try to fold it. Right? Like, because so far it's kind of like really flat. So you want to figure out which is the right side and start folding it. Because we're gonna add our second color for the first time. And when we do that, we want to pull the color down between the 2 needles and then hold that tension in my thumb right here, right? Like, so I'm holding both the tails, the tail from the red when we started and the tail from the orange in my thumb and out of the way. And then I have to tension the new yarn over my finger and keep both of those tails under my thumb so they stay. Pull that one out, push that one back, slip one, knit two. All the way around. Fortunately,
Okay,
you
I'm
can't
gonna
see
wait,
my
wait,
knitting, only my fingers.
stop for a sec. So
Sure.
here's mine. So you're gonna walk me through it. So I'm holding it there. I've pushed it down to make a little bit of a fold. I have my tail. And my working yarn is on the last stitch that I worked.
It was my headphones, just one.
On the further needle. Sorry, just making sure everybody's muted. So there's my tail and it's going under with the other tail. So that's sort of under my forefinger. Is that all right? Then this needle comes out.
Are you at beginning of round?
I'm at the beginning of the round.
Okay.
So I'm there. And you're bringing the tail, sorry.
Add your yarn how you want. I was wondering if that was too much instructional detail.
So I just start and bring my yarn from the back and I'm holding it with the other out of the way with the other tail. So it's slip one, knit two.
Yep.
Across.
All the way.
All the way. So you turned your original pairs of stitches into triples and now
right.
you're kind of outlining them.
Right. Now we have like little sections, like sections of an orange. And each section is 3 stitches. So the rest of our increases, the rest of our rapid increases are just putting a new stitch in the middle of wherever we have 2 right now, right? In the middle, wherever 2 oranges are, we're gonna put a new stitch. But if we did them all in one row, it would be way too rapid and the toe would be wrinkly. So we have to do half at a time.
I'm one stitch out, so I'm adding.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've gotten all the way around and my whole deal here. Now mine is not as high contrast as your 2 colors. So you want to stay on you. You've got to, you got to get the rest of the way around.
Yeah, I'm just finishing that row. Okay. So it's again, slip and knit 2.
Yep.
I had the wrong number of stitches on that needle. So that was a surprise.
It happens.
Why don't you talk about tension loading?
Tension loading is my favorite. So I tension my yarn over my left forefinger, which is a little different. I guess I'm a picker and you're a thrower.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound right?
Correct.
Okay. So tension loading is trapping potential energy into the fabric of the sock. And that is basically trying to make it springier, more clingy. And the way we do that is we think of the way we would spread our floats in when we do color work, and we do the opposite of that. Now, this early in the toe, it's really not possible to demonstrate very well because these stitches there aren't enough of them yet. But later when we have a fabric, we will let the fabric build up against your receiving hand and you won't smooth it out. You'll just get out of the habit of smoothing it out and let everything sort of build up against your hand. And that will sort of, wool fibers have memory. And what we're giving them is the memory of being real bunched up and liking that and wanting to be that way again.
Okay, so we're on round 3.
Right. So this time, the first little orange section with 2 orange stitches, we're going to leave it alone. We're just going to knit all of those. So you're going to knit the yellow one, the 2 orange stitches. That's the first section being left alone. You're just going to knit all 3 of them.
Okay.
And then the next section, we're going to put a new stitch between the 2 orange stitches. So you're going to knit 2, and then you're going to do a left lifted increase just like you did before.
I'm picking up a yellow purl bump. So you're not picking up anything from the orange stitch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I knit
So
the
I'm just
last.
doing the same thing. Okay, so the next section is a no, don't mess with it section. You're just gonna knit 3. The next section, are you there? I am. The next section is an increase section. So we knit the first 2, and then we do a left lifted increase to place a new stitch between the 2 orange stitches.
Okay.
And the next section is a no increases section. So we just knit 3. Now, I think I might have fewer sections than you. I cast on 10. Did you cast on 12?
I did.
Okay, so that's good. That's fine. I usually cast on 12. I like your numbers better. So the next section, you're also going to do an increase, right?
So
Yeah, you're going to knit 2. You're going to do a left lifted increase. At the end of that needle, you're going to knit 1.
okay, so I've gone from
Okay, so I'm knitting a different size from you. What
mhm.
I'm gonna do is do exactly the same thing on the second needle as I did on the first, and so are you. So we're not gonna increase in the first section, it's just knit 3. And the second section will increase between the 2 orange stitches, so it's knit 2, make 1 left, knit 1.
Now in the pattern, it gives you the count of how many stitches to knit.
Yes, I was very meticulous about giving a stitch count with every time it changes so that you know that there's been a change.
Well, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
Sorry, I was reading the pattern as you were going through this.
Sure.
And I saw the knit 2, then the left leaning increase. But I didn't see like on that row 3, the knit, just to knit those first 3 stitches. Am I not in the right place in the pattern?
Let me just check my pattern. I was actually doing it from memory, so let's make sure I was being exact.
It's always dangerous when we do it from memory.
I know, right?
Well, I was, like I said, I
mortal.
thought I was following, and I wondered if maybe I was just in the wrong place, which I could be.
So we're on round.
Okay, you are correct, and I did it wrong. I have done it both ways, where the first time I knit in the increases in the first, the third, and the 5th segment, and that is how it is done in the pattern.
I'm gonna
You
pull
are
back
correct.
this cap
So line
and do
3
it.
is knit 2, and you make the increase. and then the next segment, you knit all 3 of them, and then the next segment where you do an increase, you would do it just the way I said it, but in the pattern, it does say knit 6, left lifted increase. That's, I was explaining how to visualize it in segments. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna.
So it's
Yeah. So this is the side.
mhm.
So I think Rue's point about looking at these segments and knowing it. So if I look at round 3,
Mhm.
knit 2 and do a left lifted increase here. So that's in the first segment instead of the second segment. So we're just swapping which segment.
I did you dirty on the first half. I'm sorry.
And then there will be one here. And then there will
Yes.
be another one here.
Here.
And
And the number of stitches in between that is 6.
So let's just go ahead and show it.
Yeah.
So here's my 1, 2. So we're doing a left lifted increase right here at the beginning.
Yes.
Please tell me if my hands wander out of the screen. And then you're
No,
gonna
you're
work
right in the frame. Okay. So then
1,
we're going to knit 6. Count them up.
2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one takes me to halfway through the next.
Correct. And then you're going
Second.
to do the left lifted increase. Yep.
Mhm.
Right between the 2 orange stitches.
There we go. And then I'm going to start counting again. 1,
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In this case, it leaves me with 4 stitches remaining on my left needle. I'll do one more increase, left lifted increase right there.
Right. It says to end of round, knit 4.
So when you say end of round,
Yes.
do you mean end of the row or the round?
Okay. When I
So nice to have you here.
yeah, I totally get it. When I say end of round, I mean the end of the round, so that you're back at beginning of round.
So
Here the knit 6 wraps around on the first needle. When you end with knit 6, on that you wrap around and you start with knit 2, and 4 plus 2 is 6.
So in this row, in this round of round
Yes.
3, that works.
Yes.
In round, I think it's round 5, it is a wraparound that changes at the beginning of the second half.
Is there an error in round 5?
I don't know if it's an error, but the wraparound doesn't come out symmetrically the way it does in this round.
Okay.
So you should just know that that's the case, that it just happens in this one that you finished with 4 on the other side and you turned and you had 2, and so that becomes 6.
Yes.
It is absolutely correct. The pattern is correct, but it's symmetric in this round. But when we get to round 5, it's possible that it won't be symmetric, but it's still correct. I see Kathy nodding. Kathy's like, I get it. Yeah, it's not symmetric, but it's right.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to do round.
It's not quite symmetric because we move a stitch.
Exactly.
Yes. And actually, the reason we do line 3 the way that we do it and not the way that I accidentally misled you is so that it will read that way, so that it wraps smoothly in the writing.
See? Although I like your skip a section. That was fun. Oh, hello. Come on. Get up there. I'm being super tight. All right, so now I'm doing round 4. And
yeah, I feel like it makes sense if you think skip a section, but there's such a thing as like trying to fit too much dialogue into a pattern.
Yes.
Which I really struggle with.
So now I'm back to the other color, my second color, and I'm slipping the first stitch and knitting 1. So any
Yes.
comments about this slipping one?
Wherever in any segment that you have an increase, where you just increased, it will be slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one. In any segment where you did not make an increase, it will be slip one, knit two.
Oh, slip one, knit one.
And since yours is kind of wonky, just follow that rule and you'll be fine.
Right. This is my wrong, the wrong
Right.
side.
Correct.
Good.
But if you follow that rule, you'll be totally fine. Any segment where you just made an increase, it's slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one.
Got it.
Any segment where you didn't just make an increase, it's slip one, knit two.
So don't look at my knitting right now
Right.
because I did my increases the wonky way.
Don't look at me either. I'm going to take a sip of wine. How are you guys doing?
Is that right? Nope. One. They're very quiet at night sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get a lot more pushback in the morning.
I bet.
Okay,
lot
so
more
this is the
feisty.
side that's going to work out beautifully.
So I really hope that you really love this method of sock knitting. I've been on a mission for a long time to solve all of the little problems with hand knit socks that drove me crazy, because I'd put like so long into knitting a pair of socks and they'd wear through or they'd go baggy. They didn't feel good in my shoes. And I just really I love knitting socks so much that I wanted the product to be as awesome as I thought it could be.
So this is working out perfectly because my
Good.
was here. So when you slip one, knit one, slip one, you're slipping the stitch that was increased and it creates that
New spoke.
that new spoke. But I just want to show here, when you are slipping the stitches, it creates this solid part of the stripe. So you have stripes
Yes.
this way, and then each of the stripes are striped vertically. And when they're striped vertically, it's a 4-row repeat of one color, and then it switches to the other color. So when you are doing this correctly, that increase stays the same color. If you do it incorrectly, then the increase is not on the right color. And that's a clue that you might have made a goof. If you're
We're very particularly placing our increases so they appear as spokes, like gracefully and symmetrically and early in the sock.
And so that's one nice thing about reading your knitting, to look down and see where those spokes are supposed to be happening.
It's also something I really like about slip stitch knitting, that I find this particular pattern, the slip stitch rib, really easy to read.
I did too. It's very addictive as you get going. I realized that these first it's like 13, is it 13 rows with the lifted increases, 13 rounds?
Yeah. And then you're done with the increases and it's just things.
Okay. How we doing? All right, so that was round 5. Round 4. This is round 5. I think this is the one that is not symmetric, so I definitely want to show this. So I now have the slip stitch round is correct. And as you see, I'm having trouble backing my needle in because I'm trying to be tight on the edges.
Yeah, you want to loosen up your tensioning on the ends just a little.
Okay. So now it's knit 6. So
and then an increase.
I'm going back to the first color. And again, this is a great place to get a little tangled. I've got lots of ends here. So when you pick up your main color, just follow it out and make sure it's attached to the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna knit 1,
I'm not convinced that you in particular need to knit 6, but everybody else does.
3. This should be the right one.
Okay.
5, 6, and then I have a left lifted increase in the middle of this section.
Good.
And then I knit 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, look where that puts me. In the middle of a section that only had the 2, that didn't have an increase the last time.
So you're in the right place or you're not?
I'm in the right place.
Okay, good.
Because we're doing the increase where there hadn't been one before, right?
Right.
And then 1, 2.
And then everything will settle into slip stitch rib and we'll only do increases on the outside edges,
6.
like we've all done before.
So this is symmetric. I must have done something wrong in the first one. You're perfect. So that comes in between there, which means I have 1 stitch left on my left needle. So if I count that as 1 and I'm knitting 7, then again, you start with knit 6 on the other side. So it is symmetric. I was wrong.
Yes.
I take it all back.
Yay!
Yay.
I was quite careful.
I know.
It's been a while since I wrote it though.
I know. It's like, I remember this. Wait. Okay. So
Well, I had it all set just about ready for test knitting, not this past June, but the previous June. And then I fell and I shattered my wrist.
oh,
And I couldn't, like, I had to have surgery. I had to have reconstructive surgery and I couldn't knit at all. And I couldn't type.
oh,
So I couldn't finish publishing the pattern and it just sort of languished
I'm glad
until
you
the
finished
next
it.
June. And I was like, we're doing this.
It's so beautiful. So here I am. I've knit the 6 at the beginning of the second half
Yep.
of the round.
Mhm.
And I'm right there between 2 orange stitches ready to increase and pull up a yellow stitch.
Excellent.
And then I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Leaves me again in the same situation. And then I should end 1 stitch before the end with another increase. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Last
So
increase.
7 takes me past the first orange stitch and lets me do the lifted increase right there between them. And then I finish the round.
Right between. And then we get to do a beautiful settle into slip 1, knit 1. All the way around for row 6.
Oh, yeah. I turned my page too soon. So slip 1, knit 1 all the way around because they now all have an extra stitch in between.
Exactly.
I want to make sure that I get my orange and that
That's
it's
what I
orange.
meant when I said we settled beautifully into slip stitch rib.
Mhm.
Everything is just slip 1, knit 1.
So are the
All
increases from this point onward just on the edges?
just on the edges, yes.
So this establishes the number of ribs that you need.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I'm doing very high contrast. If you're doing a gradient, your contrast is going to be a little more subtle.
Yeah, it's harder to tell.
It's much harder to tell.
I find it very helpful to use 2 yarns that have different textures.
So there's the first half complete. And you can see how, even if it's blurry, you can see how the yellow is pulling up in a section. This is the first half though, so that first little bit is a little
Right.
wonky.
So
for
it
us.
shouldn't be a checkerboard. Those yellow stitches
Should be coming straight up.
straight little columns coming up.
That's what it looks like if it's wrong.
Right. But hey,
Welcome to
checkerboard sock.
Teaching with Beth. We show you what it looks like when it's right and when it's wrong. So this one is coming out beautifully perfect because this is the side that was not wonky. So you can see those stripes are coming right up. So the longer ones are the ones that are established in the first row of the main color, and the shorter ones are the ones that we were pulling up the last time. It makes it really fun. I know when I was knitting this, I really enjoyed the play.
I agree.
So that's what it should look like. And now you're getting a much more defined point, fold by the time you finish round 6. Now, this is a knit round.
Yes, we finished all our rapid increases, so we get to rest.
So it's just all knit in the color. So this is really establishing the pattern.
Yep.
And so the color that is your prominent rib in the section that you're in is the color that you just knit with.
Right. Whichever color you use on the knit all rows will be dominant visually.
So because it's the slip stitch and then it's like a little mini checkerboard in between those slip stitches. It's such a clever way of doing it. And I had somebody who was like, it's like you do the whole sock as a heel. I was like,
Yep.
yep.
That's right.
So once you finish round 7 and 8, let's talk about the color switching.
Okay. So, yeah. Each stripe is 4 slips high, and each color gets to be dominant for 4 slips, and then gets to play a receding role for 4 slips, and then gets to be dominant again for 4 slips and go away.
So it's really easy to see in these sort of middle tones right here that
right.
If I pull it apart, these are the 2 colors that are in this stripe. So the lighter green and the darker green are both being used. Wait a minute. Yeah. In each stripe, the lighter color and the darker color, or the yellower color and the greener color, whichever, however you want to look at it. But the pair of colors, you start with the new one being dominant to start with. Is that right?
Right? The color starts and it's dominant when it starts.
Yeah, so every time you start a color, like the yellow here, it's the dominant color. And then you work 4 rows where it's the receding color, and the other color gets to come to the fore.
Right.
And
And
then
if you just introduced it, it's dominant. If you didn't just introduce it, it's going to be receding. So it does like a watercolor effect.
Mhm.
You can really see it in the greens.
Mhm.
Where this color comes in, and then here the brighter green from before, the yellow green, is recessive here in the dark, in the emerald, and then it gets to be dominant again here, and then it goes away and the yellow green is gone, but the emerald green is actually staying in a supporting role for a little bit. So it's fun. You get to keep switching up colors and changing what they look like. So you get to see all these different color combinations.
So where I am right now, I'm ready for, oh, no, wait.
Okay, you are done. You're in slip one, knit one,
Slip
and
one
you did your rest row.
did.
And
I'm
have
on
you
round 8.
done?
I'm on round 8. So I'm the color that was previously used. So I'm
So
about
round
to-
9, we'll start our symmetrical 2 at a time increases.
Okay, and round 9 is also where we work the same color a second round.
Ah,
So that was what I was trying to point out.
okay, gotcha. After the color switch rows. Okay, so on round 9, our second color we'd only been using it on the slip stitch rows. And we just used that color on round 8. We're going to use the same color on round 9 that we did on round 8, because it now is going to be on the knit all rows for 4 slips.
So
And at the same time, we're going to do uncomplicated increases, just the ones at the edges.
So here I am completing the first half of round 8. And I'm in the second color.
Right.
It's
You're
giving
doing your
us,
slip stitch row with your second color in round 8.
Mhm. So you should have 4 solid stitches of the main color when you finish. So as this is finishing, as I finish this row, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in the slip stitch, the prominent stitch, slip stitch rib. Did I say that correctly?
What?
So one of the ways that I keep track of where I am
Uh-huh.
is
Oh,
just
right. How high it is.
how high it is. So it
Yes.
should be 4 slip stitches high.
Yes. We're on round 8.
So at least in
It
the
should be
the
4
ones that
slips.
started at the bottom, there should be 4 slip stitches
Yes.
making that. And that's what all of them are. They're all based on being 4 stitches tall.
Yes. It's easy to memorize.
It is easy to memorize. Once you get to that point, it's very straightforward. So then the thing that people should realize is that you continue with the same color now at the end of the round, instead of swapping back to the main color, because this is where Rue says the color switch roles. So the colors literally are switching roles. So here was my yellow prominent ribs, and now
So right. Orange is now going to do what yellow did before, which is knit all rows. So we're going to knit all, but we're also going to sneak in a couple of increases. So you're going to knit 2, and then you're going to do a left lifted increase. And then you're going to knit over to the other end of the needle, not the end of the round.
so this left lifted increase should be the color, the other color. When you do the left lifted increase, you're going to be pulling up the purl bump of the first
well.
color. Just for people to know that they're getting the right one.
Yeah.
So, and we just do that at the beginning and the end of each half. And otherwise you're knitting all the stitches in between.
Right. Now you're going to knit across until 3 stitches remain. And that feels a little awkward, but that's because the last stitch doesn't count.
Why doesn't the last stitch count?
Because it's going to move to the bottom of the foot.
Oh.
What? And then the top of your foot is going to symmetrically start with a slip and end with a slip.
Oh. So
Because we are using a riverbed socketecture invented by the great Cat Bordy.
Oh.
As far as I know.
Okay.
And for that, we need an odd number of stitches on the bottom of the foot.
And the top.
And the top.
And the top.
So we pull a nice symmetrical movement. The top of the foot starts and ends with a slip. The bottom of the foot starts and ends with a knit.
So I'm doing, sorry, this is a right lifted increase.
Yes. When you have 3 stitches left, you're going to do a right lifted increase.
So this is the first time we've done that. I am putting the tip of my right needle into the yellow stitch below the orange one on my needle. So it is the purl bump of the stitch below the one on the left needle. I'm going to pull that up to the left needle and knit into it normally.
Yes. And that places a stitch to the right of the stitch that you lifted it from.
So I still have now 3 stitches on my left needle.
Right. So you need to knit 3. And on the second needle, second verse, same as the first.
Okay.
If we moved that last stitch any sooner so that it made us feel like the top was more symmetrical, it would complicate the writing, which is why we don't move it till when we move it.
Gotcha. A lot of things in patterns are to make the writing easier.
There is more than one way to say something.
Yeah.
And there's like 6 awkward ways for every
simple
explanation.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we love these videos, I think, because
yes,
the opportunity to see what we're doing as we go is really wonderful. So I'm going all the way to the last 3. I've done my increase over here. That was just the same old left lifted increase. Now I'm coming to the last 3 stitches and I'm going to pull up again it's the right leg of the main color or the first color stitch below the one on my needle. Put that up on the left needle and then very gently, without splitting it, knit into it and then knit 3 times.
Yes. Pointy tips.
I know. I was so pleased you said the Chaogu because that's what we love.
Yes.
So notice this cuts that yellow. There's now a whole row of, this is the first time there's a whole row of.
Yes. So that is how we get this striping.
How we get the striping.
Stripes.
So now we go back to the first color, but it's the slipping color, so it's going to be
supportive roll.
It's going to be supportive. So there's no increase in this round.
Correct. We do not increase in slipping rounds
because we're busy.
That would be rude.
We're busy slipping then.
Exactly. I mean, I have done it specifically when I wanted the increase to be in the color that I was using for the slip rounds, but it's kind of asking a lot.
So wait a second. When we do this, we knit 2. Wait, slip 1, knit 2. Because we just made an increase, so it's a little bit off right at the beginning.
Correct.
So
We're
because
out of sync.
we're out of
After
sync.
one more increase, we'll be back in sync.
So you only want, so this was something that I had to go back and redo
Mhm.
because this is where my slip stitch is supposed to be. So if you slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, this would go back to being yellow, and we don't want it to be yellow. So make
Right.
sure that you pay attention when you are increasing stitches at the beginning and the end, that those do not pollute, no polluting your slip
Right.
stitch rib.
Half of your rounds while you're increasing are going to be in sync and half will be out of sync. The ones that are out of sync, you'll have to knit 2 stitches in a row.
Which means that at the end of this round, I'm going to have 2 stitches in a row again.
Well, close to the end, not at the very end. Should be stitches 3 and 4.
So 5 stitches range, slip 1, knit 2, slip 1, knit 2.
The knit 2 will be where your increase was.
Mhm.
And the last slip 1, knit 1 are those extra stitches on the end.
Okay, got it. So the end of, so the 2 stitches are here. It's not perfectly symmetric because, as Rue said, this stitch is eventually going to move to the other half.
Right.
Just not yet. Okay, we've gone over, but I think we're doing really well. Do you want to talk about what next time we're going to do the heel expansion? So where should people
Yes.
get to?
So one of the great things that I discovered in doing the whole sock in slipped stitches rather than any of it in stockinette is it becomes more geometric in the same way that the foot is geometric. And we get to pull this like rabbit out of a hat, which is an absolutely no guessing, no math way to know when to start your heel expansion. All you have to do is wait till your sock is about 4 inches long and then measure the width of your sock just across the foot of the sock. Measure the width of your work as it is on the needles. It doesn't need to be blocked, anything like that. You're just going to measure your work. Now, you don't want to measure it right at the working needle. You want to measure an inch below the needle so that you get more accurate, because the needle will actually sort of expand your sock a little bit. But that width, I'm going to just get my little tape measure and show you. So, have you got a tape measure?
I don't have one. I'm gonna let you go.
Sure. So it works in centimeters and in inches. And I had a number of testers who are European and they liked it. They said it worked. So I'm just going to measure across my sock just like that, right? And then my sock is a certain number, right? 4 inches wide. And then I'm going to put that number right where I think I might want to start my heel expansion. So I get to ask the question, and I can ask the question as many times as I want. Should I start it now? Should I start it now? And it's always going to be based on the width of your sock, how long you want the sock to be, And you're gonna, so my sock is 4 inches wide. I put the 4 right where I started the hex, right? But there wouldn't be that half of the sock. So I would put the 0 up away and roll the tape measure down to the toe. And the measurement at the toe will tell me how long the sock will be, because in this method, it will take you exactly as long to complete your heel turn as your sock is wide. Geometry. It's like my favorite subject.
So that's, I'm gonna put my spotlight back
It's
on.
crazy. All you have to do is take your tape measure and put it on your sock the way it is in, like, our socks are done. We need socks in progress.
We need an in progress sock. So essentially this to this
Yes.
measurement from here to here is the same as this.
Yes.
And therefore, what the piece of information you need then is the length of your foot.
Right. You do have to know the length of foot for the person whose sock you are making.
And then the one question I had is, do you use 10% less so there's a little bit of negative ease?
Gotcha. So
Their foot
my
was 10
socks are
inches long.
my socks are all that I design are all slip stitch socks. And there's so much negative ease involved in the circumference that when you put it on, it automatically shortens the sock a little bit anyway.
Oh.
So I don't use any negative ease in length, but that's because of the qualities of the fabric. We're making a much denser fabric than stockinette. Think of it as shapewear.
Yeah.
It can be strict. It can be not strict. It can be quite forgiving. It can be very stretchy or not very stretchy at all. Very, very tight. And we're creating a fabric that just, that is more elastic in the way that shapewear is more elastic than t-shirts, you know?
So this fabric will stretch out to fit around your foot. And in
Yes.
doing that, it will shorten the end. So you should use your actual measurement.
Actual measurement, yes.
So that's
The
different
negative
from-
ease is built into the sizing already. You don't have to add any. There's plenty of it in there. Just follow the sizing guide.
And then that means if you are doing this for somebody who is not you, you probably want to get a good diagram of their foot. So you want to get, one of those, and you
Yep.
want to measure as best you can between here and here.
Right.
And if-
So about that, you want it to be a standing trace
Mhm.
because the length of our feet when we're standing on them is actually a little bit longer than the length of our feet when we're sitting down.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that you are pointing the pencil directly down and not sort of in at the foot, because at the heel, it will affect by as much as 1/4 of an inch how long you think the foot is. So that the pencil has to go directly down at the back of the heel and not be pointed toward the foot.
So that means
Right.
it needs to be at a 90-degree angle to the ground
Yes.
the whole time.
Right.
So this is
So-
really something you need a helper for.
Yes, it's the 2-person job. And the best thing to do is just to save up some cereal boxes in a stack till the holidays. And then at the holidays, make everyone stand on a cereal box and trace their feet. Everybody. So they don't know who's getting socks.
And then just write their name on it.
Yeah, seriously.
nice thing
Get your little
is-
Sharpie, write their name, write their ankle circumference, write their foot circumference, measure the length, and 2 different feet, right? A cereal box has 2 big sides. Trace both feet because we all have a big foot and a little foot.
So the goal for this month, so we meet again on Monday. I can't remember if it's the 30th or the 31st. I think it's the 30th. We're going to meet again. And at that point, we're going to be doing the heel expansion. We're going to start the heel expansion. So your goal is to get far enough from your toe to be able to start your heel expansion.
Right. And, you know, I can do heel expansion math for everybody if you have questions, but the goal is to get your sock. Now, almost everybody, that's going to be between 5 and 6 inches. It's, you know, because of the differing widths and differing lengths, and some people have thin feet, it does change a bit, but it doesn't change that much. So you should be able to predict by measuring when you're going to start your heel expansion, and we'll try to get there, and then I can walk everybody through establishing the heel expansion next time.
Okay. Little homework.
A little bit. It's fun though.
I've been doing
such fun TV knitting.
Now, where are you, Rue?
Oh, I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay. So Rue's a little far to help on a day-to-day basis, although there might be some of us watching who are in Massachusetts, but I will be in the store. So if you're local and you need help in the store, come in. I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday now. Those are my regular days in the shop. This video will go up on the webpage for Sock Club as soon as it processes. It takes me about half an hour or so to get it up afterward, as long as I don't forget, because I went downstairs to eat dinner and drank a glass of wine and forgot I didn't post the video, which is what happened last week. Any questions? Now's a great time to ask questions.
Dinner is self-care.
Dinner is self-care. Kathy, did you have one?
No, I'm good. Nope, I'm fine.
Wonderful. Vicki, did we answer? You had a question about what page we were on. Did you catch up?
Yeah, I think when you guys were doing it slightly off what the pattern was, that was what was throwing me. It's the nerd in me that's like, hey, it says do this. Why are we doing exactly that?
Well, thanks for catching it, because both of us would have just blithely gone on.
Well, and for me, yeah, I was just like, wait.
That's not what it says. I know. No, Finette said that to me in the class this morning. I was blithely going forward because I forgot about the multiple increases at the beginning, and I was just like, so there's increase, because I was just thinking socks. You know, I was thinking you just have
Right.
And she was like, but there's more. And I was like, oh, yes, there are. There are more. There's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Rue. If you have anything you need to talk to me about, please give me a text or a call. And otherwise, if you guys have any questions or need any help with it, please bring it in, or send a message into the store and info@aroundthetableyarns.com.
We can figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Just keep the columns, the same columns going up.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great month. We can't wait to see your socks, and we'll see you on October 30th.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording